I never thought the moment I'd reclaim my self-worth would happen in the middle of my brother's wedding. After years of being the family's running joke, the invisible one at every table, one word from his boss turned the entire night on its head. That word? Ma'am. Spoken plainly but with such clarity and respect that it made champagne flutes freeze mid-toast, silenced murmurs, and made my brother's cocky grin vanish like a magician's trick. If you've ever felt like the outsider in your own family, the forgettable one whose absence is more convenient than noticed, then this story is for you. Let me take you back to the beginning. Growing up, I was always the other one. That's how I was introduced, even to distant relatives who should have known my name. Oh, and this is Theo's sister, the other one. Meanwhile, Theo, my brother, was the golden boy. Debate champion, valedictorian, recruited by top firms before graduation. His trophies lined the mantel. His report cards were magnets on the fridge. Mine, if acknowledged, mysteriously vanished. I wasn't dumb. I just couldn't process the world the way they did. Words danced on pages. Numbers twisted themselves into knots. She's not applying herself, my mom would say at teacher conferences, her voice laced with frustration and shame. Across the dinner table, Theo would smirk like he'd just heard his own praise recited through my shortcomings. Maybe try opening a book sometime, he'd whisper with a chuckle whenever our parents weren't listening. College was supposed to be my reset button, a clean slate. But by the third semester, I cracked. The panic attacks, the exhaustion, the endless tug-of-war with expectations I couldn't meet, it all caved in one frozen December morning when I couldn't even pull myself out of bed. Calling home to say, I'm dropping out, was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Their silence said everything. I moved out, not just from my parents' house, but from the story they had written for me. In a new city where no one knew me as Theo's failure of a sister, I started over. I discovered that I wasn't broken, I was wired differently. My brain processed in ways schools didn't reward, but the world, especially the world of tech, desperately needed. I buried myself in work, creating systems that helped people like me learn. 3 years later, I had my own company. My name wasn't splashed across headlines, but I didn't need it to be. My software spoke for itself. And then the wedding invitation came. Ivory cardstock, embossed gold script. Theo marrying into another impeccable family. I almost trashed it, but something stubborn inside, Maya, sliver of rebellion, I thought I'd outgrown, told me it was time. Time to go back. Not as the girl who left, but the woman who'd returned on her own terms. Still, nothing prepared me for the jolt of nerves I felt standing outside the venue. I'd spent more than I should have on the dress, a deep navy silk that clung just right. Even then, I felt like the insecure teen wearing grown-up clothes. The venue was everything Theo loved: opulent, excessive, dazzling with floral arrangements and chandeliers that could pay off my first apartment lease twice over. I stepped in. Dozens of eyes flicked toward me, then away again. Curiosity tempered by dismissal. My mother approached first, her smile stretched thin. "You came," she said, pressing her cheek to mine. No warmth. "No, you look great." Just disbelief that I'd bothered. My father gave me a one-armed hug and turned back to his conversation. Then Theo appeared, arm in arm with his pristine bride, his tuxedo perfectly pressed, his smile camera-ready. "Look who made it out of hiding," he said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "What are you up to these days, Ella?" "Still figuring things out." The phrase sliced like paper cuts. I mumbled something vague about work going well, but he was already on to his next introduction. "This is my sister," he told his new in-laws. "She's the creative one," with a wink that translated to she's the family oddball. I was led to a corner table with distant cousins and old neighbors. "Table 18, the usher said apologetically. From there, I nursed my champagne, watching Theo command the room from the head table, catching glimpses of him pointing in my direction during what must have been an amusing story at my expense. I considered leaving early. No one would notice. No one ever had. Then came the speeches. Theo tapped his glass, rising to toast. "I want to thank everyone for being here," he said, voice dripping with charm. He gushed about his bride, complimented her family, then turned his eyes to me. And to my sister, he said, that same smirk curling his lips. Always taking the road less traveled. Probably because she couldn't read the signs. Laughter. I froze mid-sip. Every head turned. I tried to smile, to look like I was in on the joke, even as I felt myself shrinking inside. Remember when she baked Mama cake and used salt instead of sugar? More laughter. Or when she got lost on the way to her own graduation? A hand patted mine in sympathy. I wanted to disappear. Then came the relatives, circling like vultures during the dance. Anyone special in your life? Aunt Regina asked. Pity painted across her face. Theo said you were still hopping from job to job. I kept my answer short, measured. They didn't need to know the truth. They hadn't earned it. Later, I overheard my mother talking about me to the bride's relatives. She's the creative one. We tried everything tutors, extra help but. Her voice trailed off in a theatrical sigh. That was it. I couldn't do it anymore. No drama. No tears. Just quiet resolve. I grabbed my clutch, slipped through the crowd, and pushed open the heavy doors. The night air hit me like a lifeline. Leaving already? A deep voice said behind me. I turned to see a sharply dressed man, silver-streaked hair, warm yet commanding eyes. Yes, I replied, not quite meeting his gaze. I'm not feeling great. You're Theo's sister, right? He asked, but not with judgment or condescension. Genuinely curious. Unfortunately, his eyes narrowed. Wait a second. He glanced down at the place card in my hand. You're the founder of Elevate Logic? My heart stopped. How do you know that? I'm Martin Wells, CEO of StraightaCore International. Your software changed our company's training structure completely. We saw a 40% spike in performance across departments. Your platform revolutionized how our team learns. I blinked. Theo works for me, he added, extending his hand. I shook it, barely processing. Martin's voice lifted slightly. It's truly an honor to meet you, ma'am. And just like that, the word landed with the weight of years I'd spent scraping together dignity. A few heads turned. A server stopped mid-pour. Claire, Evan, come here, Martin called to colleagues. This is the innovator I've been talking about. Suddenly, a small crowd had gathered. My mother, puzzled, peered from across the room. Theo approached, half-sipping champagne, confused. Boss, Martin clapped me on the shoulder. Theo, you never told me your sister was the mind behind Elevate Logic. Theo's face blanched. What? Martin launched into an enthusiastic breakdown of my work. Her adaptive learning algorithms revolutionized our approach to internal development. Training time cut in half. Retention rates through the roof. Just brilliant. My parents pushed through. My mother's mouth parted. What's he talking about? She whispered. Your daughter, Martin said proudly, is one of the most brilliant innovators in the industry. We paid 7 figures for a platform. Gasps. Whispers. My father's jaw fell open. Cousins who'd mocked me now stared as if I'd grown wings. Theo tried to recover. I always knew she had it in her. I encouraged tech. I nearly laughed out loud. Martin's wife, a senior executive, appeared beside him. We've been trying to schedule a meeting with you for months. I am selective, he replied. But I'd be happy to review your proposal. Eyes widened. Respect blossomed. Even Theo's best man stammered. Wakuri, the one who turned down Amazon's acquisition? I smiled, calm and unwavering. That would be me. That night became a blur of backpedaling relatives and sudden admiration. Aunt Regina now remembered she'd always seen something special in me. My mother told Martin's wife she just needed time to blossom. I excused myself to the restroom, stared into the mirror. I didn't feel triumphant. Not exactly. Just whole. Later, Theo's new wife found me. I used your platform in grad school, she said. It's incredible. Theo never said it was yours. He didn't know, I replied. She nodded. That tracks. Theo himself found me on a balcony. Why didn't you tell us? Would it have mattered? I asked. Would you have believed me? He had no answer. Congrats on the wedding, I said quietly. I should go. As I gathered my things, I noticed several business cards had found their way into my clutch. Martin gave me a respectful nod from across the room. I didn't stay for the final dance. Some bridges can be rebuilt. Others just don't need to be. The next morning, I met Martin for coffee. We talked business as equals. "We'd like to expand, elevate Logic's reach," he said. "You've only scratched the surface." I agreed, but not because I needed more money or recognition. I did it because my work mattered, because people like me deserve better tools. My phone buzzed nonstop texts from Theo, from my parents, from people who never saw me until that night. Martin looked up. "Everything okay?" "Just family," I said. Later, back at my hotel, I finally opened Theo's text congratulations, half apologies, shallow invitations to reconnect. I replied simply, "I'll call when I'm ready." 3 weeks later, I emailed my parents an invitation to visit my office. Not a summary of my career, just an offer to see it for themselves. When my mom called, voice trembling, "We've always been proud," I stopped her. "If we're going to have a relationship, it has to be based on who I actually am." Silence. Then, softly, "I'd like that." It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something. As for Theo, we exchanged neutral texts. Maybe someday we'll be siblings again. Maybe not. Either way, I'm at peace. The girl who once felt broken now leads a company that proves learning differently isn't a flaw, it's a gift. And the validation I once craved? It was never in their hands. It was always in mine.